brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Now, today I have a special guest. She is a good friend of mine. She is the founder of the Erika Monae Group. She's an executive coach and a social capital strategist. I like to call her the Cartier of career coaches. Erika Monae, welcome back to Baxter's Buzz.
So it was the way in which you said it, the Cardi. Yeah.
The on camera, off camera is a little different. It's showtime now. We got to put a
It is
little.
showtime. It is showtime. Okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for that introduction and calling me the Cartier of career coaches.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. But I miss this, man. I miss you.
I know. It's been too
forever.
long. Yeah. There's always so much to talk about, so many different topics. But I just want to, first of all, just say kudos to you and your consistency around networking on purpose. Can you kind of talk about that and the inception of that and sort of how often you all do it and how it all works?
Yeah. So I started my business in 2019. So this year will be 5 years old. And I started networking on purpose the following year in 2020. So networking on purpose, I've been doing it for 4 years now. And the birth of it and the reason why I came up with it was when I would talk to my clients and I would always ask them, okay, what is your networking strategy? Who's in your network? Nobody liked networking. They hated it.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of success through networking. And so I'm wanting to like pour that into my clients, and none of them were open for it. And it wasn't until I had one client who said, hey, Erika, when I walk in the room, literally nobody wants to talk to me. But when they find out my job title, all of a sudden, now they want to talk to me. So for that, I'm out. And I was crushed by that. So I wanted to create an environment where my clients felt safe enough to show up as who they are and not just their job title. And I incorporated honoring a nonprofit every month as well. So I've been able to do that, like I said, for 4 years now, and people come to network on purpose and for a purpose. So they have the opportunity to create new and authentic relationships and experience networking in a different way. It's not your traditional, I'm going to walk in, see who's here and hopefully pass my card or scan my QR code for my business card. It gives you an opportunity to truly be able to learn more about networking in a different way, because networking is more about giving than it is receiving. So understanding like what it is you're actually giving is truly important. So I do a quick little snippet of my 5T networking approach, and people start to get enlightened on like, oh, I could actually give my time. I can actually give my testimony. I can give my talent or even my social connections, my ties. And so all of those things are incorporated. So I take a more of a philanthropic approach to networking. So I know I said a lot. So
No, that's good. And it's a really good sort of like base to have our conversation. I mean, networking is so key for us both. It was something that, although I know that I'm good at networking, I never wanted to talk about it because I started to feel like, well, I was afraid that it would feel hokey if I talked about my success in it. So like people have been asking me to talk more about it. And I just didn't, I don't know, I just had some weird apprehensions around it because I didn't want people to think it was like a thing. Like it was like,
okay,
take these 3 steps and no, you're going to be this great networker. Like, because so much of what I do is organic. It's intentional, but it's it's very organic. So when I finally relented and put together this like networking workshop, I realized it had real value because there needs to be a little bit of strategy and a, sort of a concept that you need to go, but it doesn't have to feel, if you're going to go play pickleball or you're going to go, you're going to have some sort of strategy. You need to know how to throw the ball down the lane at least, right?
Right.
So it's just like the sort of a set of expectations and just how to like wrap your head around, okay, what am I walking into, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
How how do you, when you talk to folks about sort of their social capital and when they walk into a room, folks that may not have never met before, like what are some of the tips that you provide them with?
Yeah. So so outside of just social capital, I get them to also get clarity on what is networking and what is building relationships. And I think oftentimes you would hear people say, I don't network. I like connecting with people. I like building relationships. I do connections, but I don't do networking.
The bad word.
And it's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
nasty word, right?
Hmm.
But everyone loves the word connections because that one's sexy. And so the thing about it is that you can't take the truth out of networking, which is networking is truly a transaction. It is. That's just what it is. However, when you remove the actual point of making a connection from networking, it does become a transaction that is based on truly what I'm looking for. I'm trying to receive something. So it's no longer meant to create or to discover a mutual interest or synergy between someone to spark something to create and build and maintain a relationship. So when you remove that element from it, so yeah, networking is going to feel like that. But
Hmm.
if you keep it intact for what it is, because you are supposed to create or find a mutual interest. If you don't find that, then that's cool. Go to the next person. But that's the point. And we've somehow disassociated the two. And so I get people to one, discover like, hey, what is truly networking? What is truly relationship building? And how relationship building must be a part of it. It can't be
Yeah.
separated.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about social capital, the main social capital I would say that people are looking for, the main two, I shall say, is really access and trust. People
Mm.
want access to opportunity, resources, or even someone who they deem as an influencer, someone who's credible. So it's that access that is truly so important to people that's really valuable. But once you get that access to those resources, those opportunities, or even the people, it's what type of image or credibility do you have as someone that they could trust you? Like if
Hmm.
someone were to name drop me, that's because they trust me,
Yeah.
right? And if I name drop someone else, there's a level of trust there. And that is honestly what we're all looking for.
Yeah.
We want to be able to um, create the type of relationships that have so much trust and authenticity in it, where it's like, I know who I'm talking about, I know myself, and this relationship is an authentic relationship, and I know this person. And you want to be able to speak on someone's behalf in that sort of way. And so those are like the main two that people are really like looking for when they are building relationships and networking.
Yeah. So I love that. And it's funny, I was talking to a friend yesterday. She was catching me up on some things. And she said something, and I said, I'm putting this in I'm putting this in my presentation in my workshop because I can't believe you just said that. And I'm gonna make fun of you. Because she's like, yeah, I went to this event. It was a friend of mine, and um, it was this networking event, and I thought that I would know most of the people there because I know her, and she was like, and I haven't done networking in like 2 years. And I'm like, you're talking about it like you talking about aerobics class. or something like this thing. I'm like, you're a business owner, you're a consultant, you are in these rooms, you're networking all the time.
all the time.
And she kind of like sheepishly was like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, oh, I'm using this and I'm gonna tease you about it because like when you look at it as doing a thing, that's when it doesn't feel authentic, right? And that's when it feels hokey
Mm-hmm.
and like work versus this more natural like type of thing. So talk about the 5 T's.
The 5 T's. So the 5 T's are treasure, time, talent, ties, and testimony. Those are the 5 T's. Um, when we go into networking, and even when it's time to even talk about ourselves, let's just say it's not even networking. Let's just say we're in a meeting, we're at an interview. Like when it's time to talk about ourselves, it is challenging because we're trying to figure out what to say. And I remember being in a position where I was being interviewed, and I'm like, I know myself. Why can't I say this? And it's not that I didn't prepare for the interview, but it had more to do with me actually being confident and certain of my receipts of the things I've added value to. So when we don't understand ourselves and how we've been able to add value, it makes it really hard to talk about ourselves. And when we start to network, we're like, I mean, I am a business owner. I own such and such business. I do these things. Let me know if I can connect you with somebody. And then
Or you
like that's it.
start qualifying it like, oh, I just do this thing.
Yeah, you minimize it.
I don't
And
have,
I've
I
done
just
that.
have this small,
Little
and
business, because sometimes you get intimidated around about who you are around.
yeah.
And no one ever wants to sound so boisterous or boisterous about their business or about themselves. No one wants to say like, oh yeah, I have this ego. Let me put it out here. No one wants to do that off rip. So it's that piece. But back to the 5 T's. So treasure, what I've found is that when you're able to donate to an organization, donate to a given cause, that brings attention to you and people want to understand more about why you wanted to donate. So becoming a donor, and this is the mini philanthropist in me, but becoming a donor and being able to support very causes that are just touching your heart, something that is very valuable for you, can really bring attention to who you are and your character. And then people want to understand and know more about that. So sparking that curiosity helps. Time, volunteer. People underestimate the value of actually volunteering your time to a nonprofit organization, to some kids at your church, or to your community. Whatever time you're valuing, again, this is showcasing more about your character and who you are, but it's bringing people in, or it's giving them a different perception about, okay, I see how this person is moving. Let me find out more. In addition to that, it may provide you an opportunity to meet someone that you didn't even think you'll be able to meet on, in a given situation, work situation. So opening yourself up to that provides different type of opportunities to connect with very unique and phenomenal people. Talent. This goes beyond your skill set. These are the things that truly you and only you carry. Like it's innate for you, it's natural for you. So when I talk about talent, I'm a certified strengths coach. So I take it from that lens of like you have your knowledge, you have your skills, you have your talent. And when you invest in this talent, it becomes a strength. So what type of talents do you have, and how have those talents been able to activate your skill set? How have those talents been able to get you through some doors or build relationships or help you process information? So these are things that we have to understand about ourselves. So when we are getting into these conversations, it's fluid. Ties is just simply your social connections, like who do you know? So again, back to the access of opportunities and resources and people, your social ties carry extreme value. And then lastly, your testimony. People underestimate the story that they have, and I'm included. Sometimes I don't even think that my story is worthy to be shared, or part of my story can actually help someone. But when you share your testimony, you'll be surprised at how much it can truly bless somebody. You'll be surprised at how someone can actually pivot what they were thinking in the right direction because of your testimony. And so sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to go to a networking event because I have nothing to offer, or I'm not looking for another job. I'm not looking for nothing. So why am I there? It may be a reason that somebody may need to hear your story.
Yeah,
So
I
those are the
love
5 Ps.
I love all of those, and the common thread is they all provide like true insight on the person.
Mhm.
Um, you didn't say, tell me, what you do, and I've been to a number of your events, and you're asking people to think, be thoughtful with their response, right? And not that they can't have, their 15 or 30-second sort of elevator pitch ready if you need to recall that. But typically you put your folks who attend like on the spot a bit and say, okay, give me something that's a little unexpected. And I think that yeah, you get a deeper insight on someone more so than you would if they were just to tell you their title, right? And me being in the world that I'm in, yes, I'm an insurance broker and executive, but that's not all that I do. And if I lead with that, you may say, "Oh gosh, we're looking for a new broker," but probably not. You're probably going to say, "Oh, okay, you've already put me in this box." But
Mm-hmm.
if I were to lead with the other dimensions of myself, you may stay, like open up, and you may go, oh wow, I'm aware of that nonprofit that he sits, that he donates to, or that the board that he sits on, or oh, I have a similar interest, right? And so we have to be mindful of the value that we do bring, and in fact know that we do provide a unique perspective that is valuable, right?
Mm-hmm. It
Um,
definitely is.
I for a long time was not a great networker. Um, so I didn't have the confidence. I didn't know. It was like this thing I was thinking, like I would go out and introduce. So if we were at event and there was like a big event, let's say we're on one side of the room, and then you go, hey Baxter, that's so and so, like he's a really good person to know. I'm gonna go, okay, cool. If somehow he ends up at our table, if we end up, you know, um, ordering a glass of wine together and we're sitting at the same bar, like I could do that. But I didn't have the confidence to go across the room to anyone and say, hi, I'm Baxter. Because I guess I thought that people were gonna say, why should I care? Why are you talking to me? And
Why do
what
you
do
think
you
you're
bring?
being so mean?
I mean, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's like worst case scenario, right? They're gonna say, I'm sorry, and you are, and why are you talking? And I didn't understand the value that I brought. And it's not necessarily I have a bigger title, or it's just I have experiences. I have my own set of unique experiences that may be beneficial to you or other people. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to meet you because I've heard great things about you, and I'm, you know, making an attempt to connect. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's where it starts. And for the record, no one's ever been that mean to me. So
Yeah, I
I've
would have been
been
surprised if you would have told me someone was that mean to you.
well, I wasted a lot of years, not having the confidence to really like put myself out there, and probably missed out on a lot of opportunities because the seeds that I planted were only where I could see them, and I didn't do a great enough job planting those seeds with folks outside of my comfort zone. So I'm,
Gotcha.
mm.
So it's funny that you talk about the confidence in networking. And for me, I never had a problem in speaking with people. Like I never had a problem with introducing myself to people. The problem was, what are we talking about? That was always the problem for me. I used to have this mindset very early in my career as someone who is so junior or entry level in my career. What would I have in common with a senior director or an SVP? Like, what are we talking about? So I was in rooms and I did not know how to take advantage of these opportunities because I didn't have nobody telling me about networking and how you do this and so on and so forth. I was in rooms with key people, and I didn't maximize it because I didn't know what to talk about. And it was that piece. I'm like, well, what should I be talking about? Right. So that's what got me into creating a strategy. And when I created this strategy that connected with my career, it made sense on how I was going to this event, how I was talking to this person, how I just wanted to show face. I remember there was a point where I was going to so many conferences, so many summits, doing so many things outside of work. Not only did everyone inside the workplace recognize, like, do you ever do work? Are you ever at work? Like, but people externally from my workplace, it became, hey, you were at the event last week. What's your name? So then you become this familiar face to people. And there's some people that I'm still in contact with to this day off of just, I just saw you at this conference.
Yeah.
What's your name? And just being able to say like, hey, I am serious about this particular topic or your profession or whatever the conference or event may be about. People recognize that, and people are not as bad as we may think. So
yeah. It's the power of proximity, right? That's another point that I like to emphasize. You know, you must be present to win. And if
you
you're
gotta shoot your
not
shot.
physically there, someone can't introduce you to this person. Someone can't point and say, this is a good person to know. Or someone can't point someone towards you and say, this you should meet Erika because you're not there.
Right.
And if you're going to be there, right? I mean, don't take time away from your hobbies, your couch, your family, whatever you could be doing to go stand in a corner and scroll through your social media because you could do that at home. So if you're going to be there, like
Be there.
be there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people think networking is very cookie cutter, right? It's very like you got to do it this type of way. You got to say these words, shake these hands, and get these many contacts before you leave.
Yeah.
Like people think it's supposed to go that way, and it's not. It's not. And you have to make networking work for you and not against you. So being able to like customize your own way of how this is going to work for you is important because I've attracted a lot of introverts as clients, and they don't like networking because they're an introvert. They're like, look, people are draining. And I'm like, wait a minute, I get that because I don't consider myself an extrovert. I consider myself right in between. What is that one called?
Ambivert.
Is that what it's called? Okay. So that's what I consider myself because I can disappear and say I need to be recharged very quickly as I can go to an event and be very charged up.
Yeah.
So, but they would tell me like people are just draining. I just don't know what to say. It makes me feel uncomfortable because some people have social anxiety. So you have to make this stuff work for you. It's not, you can't just approach it the same way that everyone is approaching it or how your boss is telling you to do it or whatever the hell you Googled. Like you need to be able to make it work for you.
The five T's, all of what we've talked about really, in my opinion, boils down to sort of, again, insight, but what's our story? What story are we trying, do we have? And there's multiple layers of this story. We could probably spend a great bit of time talking about our testimony, sharing that with folks, talking about the things that we value as far as the time we spend with our children or the time that we donate to different causes. It all depends on who the conversation is with and sort of how the conversation is flowing. But most importantly, we have to come in with a true sense of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
And saying, okay, this is not about me. This is about sort of being curious and interested in the person that I'm talking to, whether it's one or two people, whether it's 6 or 7 people, but giving them that time, being present. And you'd be surprised what you'll learn about somebody if you actually spend the time like listening and not like trying to prepare to like,
Yeah.
reply to whatever they're saying before they even are done saying it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because when you were when you just said that, it made me think like I wonder, like when people say or use the phrase like, yeah, when you go networking, you got to work the room, right? That can be extremely intimidating and exhausting. And if your strategy is to say, hey, I just need to find one person who actually shares the same exact interest in this particular topic or field and connect with them, and that's a win for me, that's okay.
Yes.
Take that win.
Yes.
So if you only end up on the left side of the room and you never go to the right side of the room, that's okay. And people have to really unlearn these things and these concepts of what networking should really feel like.
Yeah.
And not feel bad if they're not able to do the things that quote unquote should be called networking.
Yeah, it looks different for everyone, and I'll give you the last word, but I'll end with this piece. So, there's a gentleman, Eric Kershaw, out of Chicago. You know Eric, right?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
He does the uh, network like an introvert. He has
Okay.
this, and so I mean, we're not night and day, but we look at um things through different lenses, right? He's more introverted, I'm more extroverted. And he said, I just really rather have like, one or two like really deep, meaningful conversations, And I would become anxious if I only talk to one or two people because I'm like, these are all these cool people that I have the potential to like meet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I may not get as deep on in our initial conversation, but hopefully there's like a connection enough for us to have a spark, exchange information, and we can kind of come back to it later, right? And because I said if I feel like when I leave an event, if I feel like, man, I didn't really get a chance to like really, really chat with anyone like deeply, I know that was a good event for me. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I felt the exact opposite, right? Because he's like, well, I'm really just looking for like one or two like really meaningful connections, and there's no right or wrong
It
answer
is.
to it. But the big piece, talk about the importance of like intentionality and following up after you do meet these people,
Yeah.
wherever you meet them, and how important it is to like really make that contact and cultivate that relationship.
That is honestly the number one thing people have issues with when it comes to like networking and relationship building is the follow-up. In a way in which that could help you stay in, contact with everyone phenomenal that you've met is being able to really use technology for one. I have a few ways. One way is I put it in my calendar. Check on this person the second Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
Like, like use technology to give you those reminders. And it's just a simple, quick, hey, checking in, let's catch up. Let me know when you are available for coffee. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But then sometimes some relationships require more. And if it does require more, then you want to make sure you've been able to walk away from, let's just say you're at a networking event and before it ends, you're like, hey, I want to make sure that we maintain connection. What's the best way? Or like, hey, I'm really good at emailing. I'm really good at phone calls. I'm really like establish it there while you're in the mode of building the relationship so that when you leave, you're good. And the third thing that I've learned from someone, especially when it's someone you've never been in contact with, you're not even connected on LinkedIn, take a selfie with them at the conference and send it to them on LinkedIn and say like, hey, it was so great to meet you. One, it gives them something to remember you by, and you get to remember them. But it establishes like, hey, we made a connection. Look how happy we look in this picture, right?
Yeah.
And so, and everyone loves a selfie moment at a conference or a networking event.
Yeah.
So, but again, you have to build the relationship to take a selfie with somebody, because everybody's not going to take a selfie with you. They're going to take a selfie. Do I know?
Right.
So
Right.
you want to be able to establish that first.
Yeah.
But those
Read the room. Read the room.
Yeah, you got to read them. But you want to, be able to figure out different ways that work for you. Because if you try to just follow it with everybody on a certain day of the week, if that works for you, great. But if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to be able to maintain the relationship. And so you have to figure out, hey, emailing works for me, but actually meeting in person works for them. How can we meet in the middle? What are we going to do? And so you have to figure that out. And that's another conversation that yields another connection point for the two of you.
Yeah.
So once and again, it sounds like I should be giving a very cookie cutter answer, but I have to customize everything when it comes to networking, because it's so different for everybody.
Absolutely.
I talk to people who are so extroverted, love connecting with people and just fueled by it, to the person that really hates it, but knows it's necessary. So how can they truly be in it to win it so that they can authentically show up? Like, that's a challenging thing when you really don't want to be bothered with people, but you know how necessary it is for your career. So you're going to do it. But it's like, I have to hype myself up to get into this. Like, those are two different people.
Yeah.
So we have to navigate that space. And so I help my clients navigate how and what the best approach is for them to be able to network successfully.
Yeah. And then and they're not all networking events. You can network at any event, right? There's new people to meet every day. So don't feel like you have to go to this thing if you're out and about. There's opportunities to meet folks, right? So she is the founder of the Erika Monae Group, executive coach, social capital strategist, and Cartier of career coaches. Erika, thank you so much for this time. I know we could chat about this all day. We're really just getting started, but we need to stop because there's so many different, like you said, layers to this whole networking piece, but you provided a lot of good insight. If folks wanted to connect with you, what's the best way?
The best way to connect with me is really to shoot me an email. So contact us at erikamonaegroup.com, and you can go to my website and also send me a message as well. And that's another way to connect with me. And then there's LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, all the social media, the Erika Monae Group.
Yes, the Erika Monae Group.
As well.
Cool. Okay. On behalf of Erika, I am Baxter. I just want to let everyone know who is listening or watching this that you are all capable. You just need to embrace your own frequency. And until next time, peace.
Bye.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history. This real rap.